You're not sitting up here, Stacy? Okay.
These are
I have it.
Okay, ready? I'll call the meeting to order. All three commissioners are present. It was properly posted on December 17th. Is there approval of the minutes of December 20th?
I'll move we approve our minutes.
second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And item number 2. I presume you want to speak to this?
Sure, I will. So this represents something that I was first approached about by the Oklahoma Military Department, which is the Oklahoma National Guard, both Army Guard and Air National Guard, probably 2.5 years ago, I think. And that got put on hold for a little while, but the military department would like to purchase the land we have where the Krause building sits. It is next to their current 45th Infantry Museum, which is one of the better military museums in the country, but it's housed in the old armory. I'll let folks from the military department discuss what it is that they're planning to do to expand that, but they have a large amount of money available to make this expansion. But the most logical place for them to do so is right next to the current facility, which is where the Krause building is. Obviously, when the jail trust took over operation of the jail, the sheriff's office moved out of the jail and is currently housed in the Krause building. It is, so the number one thing that we have to make sure of in making this transaction is that we do have a good facility for the sheriff's office. And so what this item does is it will authorize the sale according to the terms therein, as well as provide for, first of all, the proceeds of that sale, $3 million, as well as another $3.5 million from various PBA accounts. And you've got a spreadsheet here that shows that we can do that. That would be allocated for a new sheriff's office, and that would give them, going rates at for building commercial buildings with the square footage they're currently using would enable them to do that. I will say, although it's not an item here, there are other options to pay for a new sheriff's office. ARPA would be one. Again, I'm not trying to discuss those issues, but just to point them out. And then a bond issue that we've discussed for general obligation bonds would be another. The reason why to do this now is so that the transaction here includes a leaseback, a 2-year leaseback. So basically, there's 2 years in which we can get a new facility built for the sheriff's office. And in order to enable the sheriff's office to begin right away identifying how to do that, it is necessary to use the PBA funds right now. But I don't at all mind saying that it would be my hope at some point in the future that that could be replenished, backfilled, supplanted is the better word for some from funds from either ARPA or a bond issue. The reason why the transaction needs to be done now, I'll let folks from the military department describe that, but it has to do with some of their funding that the property has to be identified this calendar year. So that's why that transaction is being done now, and then why the additional funds are being allocated is so that Sheriff Johnson and his team and everybody at the sheriff's department knows, sheriff's office knows that they are getting a new building and that they can get started identifying people that they'd like to work with, architects, et cetera, in order to do that. So that is where we're at. We do have with us today, in addition to Sheriff Johnson and some of his team, we're honored to have with us General Tommy Mancino, who is the Adjutant General for the Oklahoma National Guard, and along with him, Sarah Lane, who is a Staff Judge Advocate, and then Chris Kennedy, also a Staff Judge Advocate. So, and Representative Kennedy, I should say. So with that, General, would you like to tell us a little bit about the project?
Hang on, there's no mic. Let me get you mic'd. There you go.
Is it on?
But I don't, there we go. You can tell I'm inexperienced at this action. Okay, there we go. All right. So thank you for having me on behalf of the 8,200 men and women in the Oklahoma National Guard. We are very excited to come here today and present an offer for the Krause Building. As Representative Calvi, or Councilman, excuse me, Calvi said, its location is central to a vision that we have for that entire corner. And that's why Ms. Lane is here today as a representative of the ODVA to talk about the whole vision with me. But one key part of the vision is on the space that the Krause Building is located. We would like to utilize our bond funding that the legislature has given us, approximately $40 million, to build probably the nation's preeminent National Guard museum. The 45th Infantry Division Museum is a great museum, but it is a division museum, and the division ceased being a division in 1969, I want to say. So it has a great lineage all the way through World War II, but does not encompass the sacrifices or the actions of the National Guard over the last 20 years. So we want to move it from the 45th Infantry Division Museum to the Oklahoma National Guard, home of the 45th Infantry Division, to expand it and encompass all of our soldiers and airmen and everything that they've done in the last 20 years. To be able to do that because of the location, we would need the space. We have tried to work hand in hand and shoulder with the sheriff to come up with a plan that I hope that everyone can support in a win-win fashion. As Representative said, we're more than willing to wait a little bit. I'd rather start quickly, but I'd rather do it right. And if that means we need to provide a 2-year lease back, and I think the term is $1 a month or something, we'll be glad to do that. It's just going to be such a great opportunity for that whole corner that I also want to expand the vision just a little bit. We want to make a veterans corner. So right across from the museum is the headquarters for ODVA. We also, you may or may not know, have a cemetery, a soldier's cemetery. And the vision is, in conjunction with some federal funding that we're getting access to greatly expand the capacity of that cemetery. You may not be aware, but there's an issue nationwide with veterans cemetery plots. There's not enough of them. For instance, Arlington Cemetery in DC is almost full. And we are under great demand here in the metro area to find suitable resting places for our heroes. And this will also enable us to do that. We hope to turn that whole corner into an area that services veterans. The museum itself will also contain veteran services offices, and we'll also have some conference and other space, which we would be glad to make available to the county too. So county's always been a great partner. You may not know, we originally sold that property for much less than the offer we're making, but that's okay. I think it's more than a fair offer given the value to us in the project. And with that, Sarah, would you like to say anything about the operations of the cemetery and maybe show that?
And let me say, I'm sorry for misidentifying you. I knew you were in a former role when we were both stat sub advocates there, and
Absolutely.
you're both.
That's
So
right.
that's-
Former staff judge
okay.
advocate. So
And-
yes,
and-
we served together. So your memory is correct. But I'm honored to be here today as the Deputy Executive Director and bring greetings from our Executive Director, Joel Kinsel, who is out of town. Just wanted to share a little bit about our partnership with the Oklahoma Military Department and our vision for the future expansion of the corner, which will require another visit back for zoning actions and such. But the corner adjoining our parking lot, Veterans Affairs is located directly to the north of the existing 45th Infantry Division Museum, if you're familiar where that is on Northeast 36th Street. So next to our parking lot, there is the referenced Veteran Cemetery that the Adjutant General had referred to. And I have some representations here, certainly if we can share those with you guys, of the, thank you, yes. Thank you, sir. We have some renderings here that represent the master planning of what the development of that corner would look like. So as it sits right now, it is full to its current developed capacity. And then there are issues with the development of it further that are going to require some significant investment, as well as oversight and administration to operate that as a full-time cemetery for veterans. Right now, it's operated as kind of an annex of the mission of the military department and really is a better fit for the State Department of Veterans Affairs to take care of and honor our veterans. So capacity of the cemetery as it's depicted there, where the current plots are located, it's nearly full with roughly 300 plots. Our expansion going all the way to the corner would further help develop and characterize and transform this military and veterans corner in Oklahoma City, and will increase the capacity of the cemetery 8-fold. So we would go from a capacity of close to 300 now, which is nearly full, to a capacity in excess of 2,500. So, subject to your questions, that's a little bit about our future vision and partnership on this.
Just one.
venture.
If I'm not
Certainly.
mistaken, that cemetery actually houses Civil War Union soldiers.
So that is its
All the way back.
legacy, is the name of the cemetery as it is now is the Union Soldier Cemetery. So yes, it is quite a history.
And then one of the other things that we probably should mention is our vision of hopefully doing a pedestrian walk across so that you could walk across the road between the two. But I think that's a city and not a county issue. So probably we will raise that with the city. But I'm available for any questions that you might have on anything that we're trying to do.
So I just want to confirm that your plan is to demolish the building and not use any of it. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. We
Okay.
will eventually demolish it and rebuild.
And then this piece of property that you're including in this proposed deal, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a piece of property directly adjacent to the Oklahoma Military Department. I think it's an excellent location. I won't speak for the sheriff, but it has highway access. We'd love to have you guys as a neighbor. We're also considering future plans, maybe joint training facilities that we might share, specifically pistol ranges, things like that we've looked at in the future. No concrete ideas other than an idea. There are no concrete plans yet, but it's basically the same exact acreage, just located, less than a mile away, right next to OMD.
And to be clear, the contract allows an option. So we're, in case we're going to do our due diligence and make sure it's not environmental issues, which I don't think there is right there. But, and then also this doesn't, mean that's where Sheriff Johnson, that you have to build, but it is a plot of land that is available.
Right.
Okay. I would ask if there are no further questions, the gentleman seeing that we have Sheriff Johnson.
Is Butch eligible to be buried there? I'm just asking.
I will tell you. I will tell you. I'm pleased that a new building is in the works for the sheriff's office. I think not only the men and women who served here have served here for a long time, that they deserve something like that, especially when we separated from the jail and all the movement that went into that. The one thing I will say is that I'm a team guy at the end of the day, and I want a deal that not only supports the sheriff's office, not only supports the board of county commissioners, but supports our entire county. From PBA to everything. And I just want to make sure that it's all above board and that we're not going to leave anybody out. So just making sure the numbers are there, and I just want it to work out for everybody. So I guess that's where I stand.
Well, and I will point out that Sheriff Johnson, as in discussions with myself, has fought very hard to make sure that we had the funding there for a new building for the sheriff. It was an easy sell for me, but we, as the folks in the military department can attest, there was back and forth a lot, that we made sure that it was something that would work for you all at the sheriff's office. And we appreciate your willingness to look into it. But he's a great negotiator.
Yeah. Any other questions from you guys? I'll be willing to answer any if you have any.
Can you remind us how many employees you have working out of Grouse?
200. Well, I have 205 total, but as
Okay.
far as at Kraus, I'm unsure of that number. I'd have to get back to you with that.
But 200.
205 employees, yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
If there are
Anything else?
any further questions?
All my questions are for a few other folks. So.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Monroe, can you tell us how much this building is insured for?
A little over $6.5 million.
Okay. And then I know you mentioned that you said you all sold the building to the county. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought the city sold it to the county.
If that's correct.
Okay.
I don't know, did they sell it? I thought it was deeded.
Okay.
Deeded.
I knew that was true, but I couldn't
Conveyed.
remember. Okay. Okay. Okay.
It was
Deeded to
conveyed
the city.
from Oklahoma City to the Public Building Authority.
Okay. So given that we insure the building for $6.5 million, I certainly have some concerns over selling it for $3 million when we insure it for more than double that.
Could I ask, I know the folks in the military department may be able to attest to this, but there was an appraisal done on it. Is that right? And do you know how much that was for? Yeah, I'm sorry.
Don't know the exact amount, but the amount that we're offering is significantly higher than the appraised value. So I can't address why it's insured more. That's all I know.
Right.
Is we did an appraisal, very tough negotiation, and we are, in my mind, paying a premium. But I would be willing to share that if necessary.
My recollection is that it was appraised at $2 million on the appraisal, that you had a formal appraisal done on the building.
I will execute my text to find out, but I believe that's about correct. We are paying a premium for the building, which is, I think, acceptable given how important it is to us to this project.
Next question.
And just to clarify, I don't think this, actually, can you remind me, did we do this in a meeting where we asked them to, or we let them appraise the building? Remind me what happened.
Correct. We granted access to the building so that.
For them to appraise it. Okay. But this board never saw the official appraisal results.
I don't, not in any formal way.
Okay.
I've seen it. But,
Okay. Okay.
Sure, it's available if you want to see it.
Okay.
I don't know that it would be current given today's economic environment. I don't know. I know to duplicate that building would be very costly, more so than what we've thought in the past. But as I understand it, it's been pointed out, they don't want the building.
Yeah. And I know over the past couple of years, especially after, or maybe when Wildlife Department was there and then the sheriff's office moved in, do you know off the top of your head how much money we have invested in that building?
We did a build-out cost there that exceeded, I want to say $200,000, and we received nearly $1.5 million, I believe, dollars in rental from the Wildlife Department, State Wildlife Department.
Okay.
Yeah, we got a return many times over.
Yeah.
On a building we didn't pay to get, on a piece of property we didn't pay to get. And the sheriff doesn't utilize the whole space you have now, correct?
I think the second floor currently is empty.
That's correct.
Yeah. And then regarding our PBA reserves, if we were to move forward with setting aside all of our PBA reserves for this project, that concerns me because I think it would tie our hands to be able to do other capital projects.
I know we have other capital projects that are being considered and those that are in the works currently where changes will be made.
Yeah.
And I know the figures that come back to us there will be in excess of what we've encumbered. And as far as the reserves are concerned, there was some discrepancy between what Munis, our financial reporting software, had and what we actually had in the bank. Danny and Christy have worked those figures out.
Okay.
You know,
I can confirm, at least by text, that it was 2 million. I'm trying to get a copy of it to share with you
Okay.
if that's helpful.
Okay. Mr. Barnes, I know that you and your staff operate out at the Crofts building and you store quite a bit of your equipment there. Can you kind of give your thoughts on this, or if you were consulted, or?
Sure. I would begin by echoing Sheriff Johnson. The team aspect of this and what's for the greater good is certainly the priority, and I support everything these folks do. And that sounds like a wonderful project. And the decision as far as sale or no sale is certainly not in my camp. I'm not familiar with the details of this going on. It's been a rumor mill that's been going on for several years. My office has utilized the shop building since before the Department of Wildlife actually moved in, so we've been in there a number of years. And it does house some extremely expensive equipment that has to be protected from the weather. To me, the great challenge here, if the sale does move forward, which again, I support what they're trying to achieve, is that we have a place to, a viable place to put the materials that we have in storage. And, you know, our office is kind of in limbo anyway. I've even looked at some alternative properties, one of which is owned by the state at Memorial and I-35. It would be a phenomenal site for construction of an emergency management office for several reasons. So if included in this project, relocating the sheriff's office would obviously be the priority because they're the largest tenant there and they have the greatest footprint there. But I think it's extremely important to remember that emergency management has a footprint there and it's a critical operation for us. And if this additional property or additional opportunities could come about, I think that would be very favorable for all concerned.
Well, and I agree. Yeah, your, office does need a good place to be. We have 2 years to figure that out. So.
others?
I don't think so. Thank you, Mr.
You're welcome.
I'll go ahead and move the item.
Is there anybody
Keith,
else?
Keith, did you have something else to say?
Yes, and as it relates to all of the available capital in the Public Building Authority being earmarked for the sheriff's new location, first of all, I don't know that that would be a sufficient sum to build what he needs. Secondly, it does not allow the PBAU trustees immediate access to capital when problems arise. Please take those considerations to heart.
Let me be, I'll reiterate that ultimately I would very strongly anticipate there would be a different and much larger funding source or combination thereof that would be able to do this. But that would require either, a bond issue by vote of the people, perhaps a spring, I don't know, or the use of ARPA funds. We just yesterday, hired our consultant on that. So in order to enable things to get rolling now, reservation of those funds is necessary at this time, but that I would anticipate would very likely be a very temporary thing in terms of that there would be other sources available.
I have employees and others who are looking at the wording allocated and unallocated funds made available to this. We have operations that we need to fund. And so certainly our debt payment, ongoing operations, we need to be certain that we have some some funding in place there. I know it was not the intent to not pay our bills or honor our obligations, but it's important that we make sure that it's recognized we're going to continue to do so.
Nothing in here will make us unable to pay bills.
Mr. Treasurer, did you have anything you wanted to say on this as a military fanatic?
Yes, sir. I appreciate the offer on the veteran cemetery. I'd like to hold off on that.
Sure.
If all the other funding sources were to happen to fall through, do we have a plan to going forward to remedy that?
Well, yes. I mean, number one, PBA takes in money every month. And second, I mean, this is already, allocated if this item passes.
Sorry, my question was for Aaron. Aaron, is this item sufficient to do what its intention is?
DA's office is not the lawyer for the PBA.
To address your specific question, our office has not been engaged in any portion of this project, so I'm really hearing all of this for the first time as we sit here.
And I understand our attorney for the PBA is not here. I don't have any more questions. I feel very uncomfortable allocating all of our PBA reserve. I know that there may be other ways to fill back that reserve, but if we don't have a sure thing for that, to act in the best interest of Oklahoma County, I cannot allocate all of our PBA reserve at this time. So I'm not comfortable with that.
Okay. I'll second the motion based on the fact of the things that you just talked about, and I will certainly be advocating for other ways so that we don't tax the PBA. But I think that we have done due diligence in the number of meetings that we've had. I appreciate General and your team for the number of times you've answered my questions that I've had along the way. I think that the sheriff's questions a lot of times were addressed also, and I know that he, like he said, is a team player, and I appreciate that as well. So, is there any other discussion on it? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, any citizens to be heard? Any board comments? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.